Hi, it's Tina Lorenz, getting ready to do the third installment of my three-part series on how you create a really high-ticket copywriting business for yourself in a way that's might be a little different than you were expecting. So far, we've talked about what a funnel is and what a marketing funnel is and why being able to write copy for a funnel is so valuable as a skill for you. We've talked about the other really important differentiation of what can make the difference between succeeding or not, and that is that intentional thinking of your mindset, flexing that mindset muscle. And by the way, just in case you're new today, this is Tina Lorenz. I'm your freelance copywriting mentor, mindset shifter, and transformational business coach and consultant. And today I'm going to talk about the third essential component of building your freelance copywriting business, or even if you're writing copy for your own programs or products, or have a coaching program, or you have someone that you want to train to become your copywriter on your team. This is an important aspect of how you can do all of that. So today we're going to go into the realm of the spirituality aspect of your business and how you connect to that higher power, that higher source, that deeper wisdom. Now, before we go any further with that, let me just say this might not be for everybody. This isn't about a religion, okay? This isn't about a specific church or anything like that. The thing, and it isn't even necessarily about what you refer to as your higher power. This is however you identify and connect to whatever that source is for you. The combining element of this, I think, the shared element of this is just believing that there is something beyond ourselves, something outside of yourself, something more important, something more purposeful, something that links to your spirit, your soul, your reason for being, your existence in this earthly realm. Some of us call Earth School as we're learning the lessons that we're here to learn. For me personally, identify this source as God. That's my connection, right? And this is where I feel that communication comes from. For you, it's whatever you relate to for yourself. That's part of what I believe in my programs is that we respect each other's beliefs, we respect each other's path to that higher source. If that resonates with you, then I hope that you'll hang out here with me for a few minutes while I talk about why this is an important element of your business and how this even came to be an important element of my business, right? So 6 or 7 years ago, I went through a very difficult time as far as having something that was going on in my life that was taking me away from what I was doing for my work for a while. Wasn't feeling really well at the time. Had a health condition that was very healable. I don't even know if that's a word, but actually overcame that. But at the time, that something else started happening for me during a time of more introspection and where I really was kind of forced to slow down a little bit for what I was doing in my business. And what started happening for me was what I call my friend Perry Marshall calls them memos from the head office. Basically, just really what I would call divine downloads of inspiration, of guidance, of kind of a pathway opening up for me of something I was being called to, something I was supposed to do. Now, at the time, I was like, what? What am I supposed to do with this? Because I just felt compelled to write these things down, to keep track of what I was receiving, specific words and phrases and concepts, names of programs or elements of my programs that I did not even have yet, right? And so I paid attention, but I was also resistant. Quite frankly, I was just feeling like, who am I? Who am I to do this thing? Because one of the phrases that I got, and which I have since trademarked, was the Celestial Sherpa. Now, when the Celestial Sherpa came to me, I wrote it down. I somewhere here I've kept the folder with me all these years, carried it around with me because it took me a long time. It took me some years to feel like I could even talk about this or share this with anyone. I just kind of kept it to myself because I had known in the years up to this point that there was always something deeper at work in my business. There was something happening for me where I just kind of knew things from my clients. I was able to articulate those things that actually entered into the copy or how we had our conversations. And I truly knew that this was also, for a long time, I wasn't sure if I could teach that, what was happening with that. I didn't really have a name for it. I just knew that it was happening. But as this began to occur, I really got more connected to what that source was. Now, let me just say, without going into the big long story, I went to a lot of different churches when I was growing up. And there was a very kind of traumatic scenario in my family with one particular religion. I was seeking for quite a while after that, trying to find the right home for myself with that because I truly believed and wanted to be connected to my higher source. But what this has evolved into for me now is just being at peace with how I make that connection. And sometimes it's in nature, sometimes it's just sitting outdoors. But I also know I make the connection with how I serve my clients, how I serve the people in my programs. So back to Celestial Sherpa, as I wrote that down, well, I was pretty clear on celestial, heaven sent, divine, deeper wisdom. And Sherpa, well, I thought I knew what a Sherpa was. A Sherpa is the person that guides, they're a guide, right? Take you up to Mount Everest. You have to have one to ascend to the higher altitudes of Mount Everest. You have to go with a Sherpa. And so at the time, I thought, well, okay, I kind of get that. But I looked up the word anyway, just to say, just in case I'm missing something. And I was. The thing I was missing was that a Sherpa is also an emissary, someone who brings a message. So now we have a guide and we have a messenger, right? And I've been having some experiences with people at events and things I went to where I just had a message for them, where something came through me for them. And it usually came in the form of I would write it for them. It was like almost like copywriting. It was in some instances actually writing copy of a message I felt was for them. And sometimes it was like, are they going to think I'm crazy when I don't know them? Because it was always with people I didn't know. But when I would deliver the message, when I was the messenger and I was saying, yes, I will do this thing that I'm feeling I'm to do, I always got a very emotional response, a sometimes overwhelming response of that individual confirming to me what it meant to them. It didn't matter that I didn't know what the purpose was. It didn't matter. I was just sharing that message with them and it mattered to them. It was affirming or confirming or illuminating or inspirational, whatever it might end up being for them. So I'd already been having some experiences with this, but I found when I first connected to the whole concept of the Celestial Sherpa, I was resistant. As I said, I was like, who am I to do that? I'm not here to lead, this huge group of people. I didn't see myself in that particular light. I felt like I wasn't equipped to do that. I was not able to quote scripture. These kinds of things had not been part of my background and my education or my family experience. So I just kind of sat with it and I continued to seek understanding. I continued to ask for just understanding what it was I was to know. And now I'm going to use a word here that some people may say, oh no, but that's meditation. And for me, meditation, it's a meditative prayer. It's a way to go inward, to go outward. It's a way to receive that guidance for yourself. And it's also tapping into your own deeper wisdom, which I also believe is divinely given and that it's already there for us, for each one of us to connect to. So when I did this process, I began to understand. It took me a while, but I began to understand what this could mean for those I was serving. That the Celestial Sherpa was something for each of us to become and to embrace and to embark on, so to speak, with ourselves, with our clients. And I began to see 3 is a very impactful number for me. It's a number I use in copy. It's a number I use in just levels of impact. And this is where I came with the Celestial Sherpa. 3 levels of impact. And that this guidance and inspiration, the messaging, first level for yourself, that you receive for yourself. It's personal to you. It's specifically for you. It's clarity for you about what you are meant to do, what you're being called to, even in aspects of your business, especially in aspects of your business, for really specifics, like even like fee structures or whom you should work with, or any of these other aspects that you can just be seeking that wisdom for, those answers for. So first level of impact for yourself. Second level of impact is for those you serve, the people you work with, your clients. And so not to say that you're going to go, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do for you, and I received this message for you. I'm not saying that that's what you're going to do at all. This is a quiet process, a powerful one, but that you are connecting with your clients. And some clients you may actually share this with if you have that type of relationship and you're feeling like you can actually share that. But what I found for myself is I did not. For a long time, I did not. I had a few clients where I talked about connecting to them energetically, that kind of my heart to theirs, And they were like, that's so sweet, you know. A couple of them that I felt like I could share that with, that they understood that I was kind of going in that zone of, I really want to kind of connect energetically to them as I'm writing their copy. So that second level of impact is how you serve your client, and this is part of what I teach then in my programs, is how you get there. How do you get to that point where you're having those conversations, where you're making that connection, where that bond is forming, where your client understands that you are truly hearing what they're saying, but more than that, you're hearing what they're not saying, in the sense of, I don't mean there's voices in your head or anything like that. I mean that you are hearing what needs to be heard, that there's something coming through for you, an understanding, a deeper wisdom, an intuitive connection, a spark of inspiration, a flash of insight, however that might present itself for you. You're getting something more for how you're connecting with your client. And that's might even just be echoed back to them when you're having the conversation of, so what I'm hearing here is that maybe this is what's happening, or you're repeating back to them, so am I understanding correctly that this is where you're going with that. And just the kind of conversations that you have. I'm not talking about sales scripts and those people that are like, I have a 3-page thing and I have to say exactly what's on the thing, and it's just wooden and mechanic, and not just, and there's nothing really aligned about that. It's more of a rote kind of a thing. Not talking about that at all. Because what happens in these conversations is, well, it takes on a kind of a life of its own sometimes. There's sort of an organic aspect that happens with this, where you start, if you trust in this, and you trust in this process, and you trust the insights that will be coming to you, you may find yourself saying something to them, or getting a deeper insight into what you're having as that conversation that you didn't know you were going to say. You didn't know that you were going to have the thought, but it comes to you, and when you start sharing that and going with that, other things develop and grow out of that. There's this kind of this organic momentum that happens, and it all comes from this place of this deeper connection. So you're automatically forming a deeper connection, a more meaningful communication with your client, and you are absorbing what's important about what they're doing, what's important to them, because this isn't about you. This is about them. This is about you being the recipient of that information, and being able to take it in at a deeper level and understand what might be the most important to your client about what's happening with their program or their product or their message or their audience, what's really important to them about that. So that's your second level of impact. And your clients will probably react like, wow, I really feel like this person really gets me. I had this happen when I went to the Gary Bencivenga event way back at the beginning of my copywriting career. One of the big investments I made in myself was to go to Gary Bencivenga's Bencivenga 100. It was in New York City, and it was very soon into my copywriting career, and it was expensive, especially for someone just getting started. He didn't take credit cards, and you had to be able to send a check, and he was limiting it to 100 people could come to this event. Now, Gary Bencivenga has become a dear friend. He's one of my mentors, someone I just looked up to so much right from the beginning. And I really wanted to go to this event because he'd never done one, and he was retiring. And he was going to do this kind of big party of teaching and sharing his wisdom with those of us fortunate enough to be able to be there. Now, at the time, I thought, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to do this, because I was just starting. I didn't have any money. But let's go back to our last lesson on mindset. I went through kind of a whole mindset reshuffle and reboot for myself of what I would need to be able to pay for this. And I did it. And there's a whole lot of things I did there to make that happen. But I was able to get the funds. It was $5,000 at the time. This was many years ago. And it actually became probably the Bencivenga 150, because so many people wanted to go. There were people from the big publishers like Boardroom and Agora and Healthy Directions, and all kinds of really big online publishers, and anybody who was anybody in the copywriting world was going to be there. And here I was, I'm going to be there too, even though I was just getting started. It was an amazing event, right? But I set my intention to be able to go to that and to learn and to absorb that wisdom. And so at that event, I did a lot of networking, which is another thing I highly recommend, whether it's virtual now or in person. But I went with an intention of not only meeting Gary and being able to learn from him, which turned into a fabulous friendship also, but also to be able to talk to others that were there and how I might serve them. And so at this particular event, there were some people there that wanted me to write a sales letter for them, and one of the guys went over and got another guy, and he was dragging him over, saying, you got to come over and talk to her because she really gets it. She gets it. And he was referring to what they had as a product, and what I thought the deeper purpose was that they might be wanting to make sure was woven into their marketing, and they were just like lighting up. And so making these kinds of connections, by the way, is very profitable to you as a freelance copywriter, or whatever your niche market might be, because I left Gary's event, my return on investment immediately was $80,000, that I booked $80,000 worth of projects while I was at this 2-day event. And it actually turned into six figures within a few months of that. And to the point where I wrote a very long testimonial for Gary's, because he actually sold the Pennsylvania 100 recordings, not really selling, they're kind of borrowed because you're not allowed to sell them or anything like that. But I'm on the first page of his sales page for that, because I had such an amazing result from being at it. And remember, I was really a brand new copywriter at the time. So the point being that when you understand it, at some level, I already understood something about this, even though I wasn't clearly identifying yet what was at work to myself. I just knew to trust it. Okay. So when you trust this process, these are the kinds of connections that you can make, and the levels that you go to, and you're going to write so much better copy. What you bring to them, this isn't about automation or stuffing things in a computer program and spitting it out the other end and hoping you have something decent. I have so many copywriters when they're first starting, they'll say to me, well, yeah, but what about that? We're going to, there's not going to be any place for us. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing else, there isn't any other software that can add this dimension, this human connection, that human spirit, the soul and spirit of you and your client connecting. There isn't anything else that's going to do that except real human connection. Okay, so I just want to reassure you about that. That this is such a valuable tool, strategy, structure, and belief in your business to be able to do this. So, okay, that's the second level. We've got our first level of impact. We've got our second level of impact. What's the third one? The third one is those your clients serve, their customers, their clients, their patrons, maybe even their family, the people that they are connecting with. They are receiving, again, the momentum from what they had in the first place, whatever shifts were happening for them with how they feel about their programs or their products or what they're doing in their business, or maybe even how they're relating to those close to them. But let's just take it on the most obvious level. Let's just say they have a program or a product that they are marketing to an audience, and possibly a huge audience, that has impact. And now what you are doing for them, when you write that copy and you lay out those strategies and you understand what they need to have in their marketing funnel, and that then goes out to their world, that then serves their clients, that gives a higher level of the experience and the return on their investment for what they are purchasing from your client. That's the third level of impact, because we're going on the premise here that you're going to work with people that you feel a relationship with, that you feel an alignment with, that you have some kind of resonation with, because it's not just going to be just anybody and everybody. Not everybody's going to be your client. You don't want everybody for your client. And you're not going to be for everybody either. And that's the way it should be. I talked about that the other day when I was talking about marketing funnels. And it's almost like you take that wide end of the funnel and you flip it over. You just turn that funnel over so it's a narrower top. And because you're bringing people in that are relating to your message, your way of being in business, your way of building the structure of your business, and what the parameters and values are of your business. So when you're doing that, you will attract, and when you have these conversations or whatever you're doing to promote yourself and your marketing, you will naturally attract those that resonate with your message. And that's how it should be. It should also actually repel. This very teaching I'm doing right now may repel certain people, may actually say, you know what, this is not for me. This is too crazy for me, or it's a little woo for me, or I don't like, you're not religious enough for me, or whatever it may be. And you know what? That's all right. That's really all right. Because what happens is you only want to work with people who do resonate with your message, whatever you're doing. But as a freelance copywriter, you want your clients to be in alignment with you and you with them. And whether they're in your programs, if they're in your coaching programs, whether they're purchasing your products, you want them to come in knowing full well that what they're entering into, what they're joining up with, that they feel an alignment with you. There's certain topics that for me would be ones that, and do, even certain terminologies in marketing that to me are like, no, that's not me. It just isn't, right? And then other things that are like, yeah, that just feels, it feels like I've come home with this. And that I was talking about this on one of my coaching calls today about that there's almost like a musicality, and there's so much more to what the words we use and how we put them together and how we write that copy. So when you connect to this higher source, when you allow this spiritual aspect to enter into your business, it's really what it should be. I mean, I don't like to use the word should, but what seems appropriate and what really amplifies the power of this is that this is just your life. This isn't just your business. This is how you live your life. And so I did an event last fall here in Tucson, and when one of my students was just like, "Oh my gosh, this is the first time I've thought in this way, that it isn't just here's your business, here's your spiritual life, here's your personal life." You know, that there are these really, really separate entities. And I think a lot of us have learned that for years, that, well, you compartmentalize everything, right? Leave the work at home. Don't bring that work home with you. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, you know, wherever you want to go with that. But what I believe makes a stronger structure and foundation for your business and your life is this integration of how things come together. And I do think of it like a tapestry, like this beautiful fabric that there's all these different colors woven through. And you know, I'll be having a lot of purple in mine and some sparkles too, but that it's all woven together in this really beautiful way that makes a really lovely tapestry fabric that it doesn't have holes in it. It's not like being pulled apart. It's not like you have to somehow, whoo, I'm not this person over here, but I am this person over here. It's full integration of who you truly are, your spirit, your soul, your values, your wisdom, and your reasons why you're doing this in the first place. When it's fully integrated in this way, that's how you can just be loving what you do. You can love the people you work with. You can love on them with how you, and I mean this in the highest sense of just the, you know, the song, "What the World Needs Now," what needs now is love, sweet love. Yeah, yeah, we do. We need a whole bunch more of it. And so this is also where I see the momentum of what we call the celestial Sherpa practice, or celestial Sherpa-ness in some of my programs. My students own it. They call themselves Sherpas. We call each other that. Now, some people may go, "Yeah, I don't know if I really like that." That's okay. You don't have to be part of it, right? But this is what works for those of us that believe this together, and that we rise together. I think of it like linking arms, like a virtual linking of arms, that we strengthen each other in a circle of intention, that we set those intentions for each other in my programs, that you set these intentions for your clients when you're working with them, that you hold them as powerful, and that you hold yourself as powerful enough to be able to really serve them in a way that increases their business, increases their revenue, increases their reach, increases their impact, increases the number of people that are served and helped by what they have for them. This is also where those that come in and say, "Well, I don't really like selling, you know, I don't know, it's a dirty word." You know, when we think of selling as something that we're doing to someone, instead of something we do for someone, that really changes. It really tilts that to a whole different direction. Because in selling as serving, selling as being the solution that someone's looking for, selling as bringing the answer to a problem, and that this is a reframe, which we talked about last time, of how you think about things, and the story that you tell yourself about what selling is, right? And so all of these things have the impact not only for yourself, but for your clients. Everything I teach in my programs, I emphasize over and over, this is for you personally, but it's also for your clients. The same kinds of things I'm saying to you personally, or the things you're saying to yourself, these carry forward to your clients. And so I believe that if we can infuse this goodness, right, this really divine wisdom, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it source, well, whatever you may call it, whatever name you give that, if your heart is in this as something that's unifying, something that's an integration, something that is restoring, something that should be, that we want to see happening in the world. This is where we get very high level with the impact of this. I feel like the more we all do this with how we serve in our businesses, the more momentum there's going to be for good, the more positive outcomes there are going to be. And that relates to peace in the world, peace amongst our own country, piece amongst other countries that you may be from if you're watching this right now, that really combines us into that global fabric, that global tapestry of truly caring about and for each other, truly serving the betterment of all of us, right? And like I said, this gets kind of way up there as far as the loftiness and our day-to-day stuff of doing the work. Sometimes it's easy to forget about those things. And so and to just sort of lose track of those things and to kind of lose your connection to those deeper purposes. So one of the things that I teach with the Celestial Sherpa aspect of this is that daily practice, that you are spending that time. You are spending that time in meditation or prayerful contemplation, whatever name you need to put on that feels right for you, but that it's an inward journey so that you can go outward, that you're quieting your mind and your spirit so that you can hear and see and feel what's meant for you, and with clarity, without the fluff, without any kind of other bells and whistles, but however that presents for you. So one of the things I often recommend, see if I've got one here, I mean, really always have one of these around, a tablet, right? Just a good old tablet and a pen, mine are purple, of course, but have a pen and paper close by, because one of the things you could try doing now for yourself is, if you have some type of quiet practice like this where you're just going to sit quietly, and this isn't about begging for something, oh please give me this or please give me that, but just being open to what you need to receive. You might even start with, what would you have me know? Just ask that question. What would you have me know? What would you have me know about my business? What would you have me know about, and you could name the specific topic. What would you have me know? And just go there and write down what happens afterwards. If you just write it down, because sometimes some really amazing illuminations will come to you. And again, if you don't capture them, it's very easy to have them as they're ephemeral, that they just sort of sparkle off into the ethers, and you literally can find yourself going, oh, what was that? I had something really good. I got something really good and I can't remember what it was, right? And so write it down, because sometimes even in the process, kind of like a free write, where you're just writing what comes to you afterwards, you may find other things coming forth that are just like, oh my gosh, I've had the experience of writing things down after, and when I go back and read them later, I truly am like amazed, of wow. And I know where it came from, but I can still be thinking like, wow, where'd that come from, right? That didn't come just, for me just thinking it up right this second. This is something beyond what I was just thinking in the moment. And so if you're open to that, if you're willing to try it, right? Doesn't cost anything to try, just like changing your thinking, where we talked about intentional thinking, doesn't cost anything to try, except your willingness to be open to it and to absorb what comes to you. When you put this all together, this is how my programs have been named this way, different levels, when it was time to make a change or move up or revamp or revise. These things have not just come from me sitting around thinking, hey, this sounds like a good idea today. How about this? But it's actually like a confirmation, an affirmation. And another thing you can do with this is, before you go to sleep at night, to kind of set your course with asking for that answer to come to you. And so this is sort of a combination of, both the spiritual work and the subconscious work of just asking for that one thing you'd like to know, that clarity point that you would really like to receive. And you may find that when you wake up in the morning, something will come to you, you're just thinking something without effort, without judgment, but yet with clarity, And this is where you really learn to trust that spiritual guidance. That isn't always in a book. It isn't always in somebody's marketing agenda. It isn't always, step 3 of somebody's marketing teachings. It's something deeper than that is meant for you. And again, write it down, because really easily lost if you don't. And so I'm really big on writing these things down as they come to you. And then even if you don't know right at that moment what it means, even if you're still kind of going, that's interesting. Even if you're doing that, write it down, because you may find that it's coming. Or there's something that's going to be happening, or there's something where it becomes clear in the next few days, or, oh, that's what that was. That's what that's about. Now I get it. It may come to you like that. And so write it down and see what you get. because I had a situation like that a few days ago, and I woke up just so clear with this thought going through my head that's so clear. And the next thing is to train yourself to trust it, not to overthink it, not to argue with yourself, not to start having the great debate, but just to accept that you have received this, even if you don't know at the moment what the solution is, or what the path to that is, or what it means, or where that fits in. You may not know right away, but if you continue with these practices, you will. You will. Things will begin to open up to you that take you to other levels of how you're thinking about things, or just a quiet reassurance. There's situations like that. I've had situations like that where, with marketing, so that maybe what you see as your path is not what every other guru is going to tell you should be your path, right? Maybe it's like, well, you should check that out first. Or you better figure that one out before you do that one, or whatever. But maybe you just have a quiet calm, a feeling of calm and assurance that you're just going to trust. And that you're going to trust that as you take those next steps, the rest of that will unfold for you. The rest will unfold for you. And you just trust it, because I have found, my experience has been that when I argue with that, or when I've had a strong sense of something or a strong knowing about something, and I decided that this might sound funny, but that I knew better than that, that snippet of wisdom, or that strong impression, right? If you start wrestling with that because you think you're going to outthink it, or out figure it out, this kind of thing, that you may look back later and say, oh, you know what? I actually knew. I realized I actually knew. But I chose not to. I chose to ignore it. I chose to dismiss it. I chose to doubt it at that moment. And later on, I found out how accurate that was. And maybe some things didn't work out so great because I ignored it, right? So there's all kinds of levels to this. I think that it's a real game changer for a lot of people. I had someone in my program just today who's wrote something to the effect of, what Tina's teaching really works. She was making $1,800 a month a few months ago. Then she implemented some of the things I'm talking about, and guess what happened? She ended up with a retainer client for, at first, $7,500 a month part-time, and now, as of today, it went to $9,000 a month part-time. And she credited this process was really, really played into this in a major way, along with the skills and the strategies, and knowing what to do. You put it's like, that you're going to put effort into certain things, like learning the strategies, learning the tactics, learning how to write headlines, learning how to write bullet points. Marketing is fun, doing all those things, but allowing these other aspects to be part of that process, that molding together, that tapestry that you're weaving of the intentional thinking and the spiritual dimension, like the bookends to the strategies and the tactics, and that they are not all separate entities. It all comes together to pull you and propel you forward towards the thing that you want to do, instead of staying stuck, staying in loafy inertia, staying confused, staying doubtful, staying fearful. All of those things, these things can all be dissolved and alleviated and reduced, because you're developing these other skills. It's a full broad spectrum of the skill sets, and it is a skill. I think there's a skill aspect to this, because it's like a muscle that you're going to keep on developing it by exercising it, that you have to exercise the practice. Because the other thing that I've found really kind of fascinating, because I know I've experienced this, you can have these most profound spiritual experiences, like just almost like the angels are singing, and the choir in the background kind of thing, where you're just like, oh my gosh, well, this has been like absolutely a pivotal moment, transcendent. And then somehow down the road, you find yourself like, I don't really have time to do that right now. And sort of like the things of the world are sort of crushing in on you, or you're starting to feel more anxious, you're starting to feel more tense, or you're starting not to trust yourself in some of your decisions, or whatever might happen, that you suddenly go, what am I doing? How did I get disconnected from this thing that I've been experiencing, this really profound spiritual connection? How is it that I'm just kind of forgetting that right now? I think that must be just part of our human experience, our life in this realm, our attendance at Earth School. That's beyond the the physical form our spirits are encased in. That that human aspect of us, what people might call human nature, is just to kind of forget how powerful some of these things are. And that's the time to just take a pause and do that reboot, recalibration, and say, I need to get back in touch with that again. I need to get that going again. And it's not because you're looking for specific answers. You're not trying to force anything. I want to be clear that this isn't a forcing. Oh, I'm going to receive this big illuminating thing. If I do this, I need it right now. That's exactly the opposite of what this is. This is a quieting inward journey and allowing. It's allowing and being open to receiving. I am open to receiving. And even saying that to yourself, I'm open to receiving what is meant for me and what it is I meant to do and the path I meant to follow. This is also sort of the mini form of this practice is before you speak to the client, before you do the Facebook Live, before you go into your coaching program, that you take that moment, even if it's just a couple of moments of just really just quiet, quiet, and intentionally making the connection. Please allow me to be a conduit. Please allow me to be that emissary. Whatever needs to come through will come through. Whatever needs to be heard will be heard. If you're hearing this right now and saying, I really needed to hear this today, Tina, then it's because I'm allowing that. I'm open to that coming through me to you and being that emissary for you right now. That's how this works. And it's also been my experience how many times I am stunned where I'll hear from someone afterwards saying, this was for me today. I needed this right now. Thank you. This was for me today. And I hope that that is happening for someone that's watching this now, whether it's live or whether you're watching the recording. I hope there's something here that is meant for you and that I have been honored to deliver it. So that's what I have for you today about how this spiritual dimension works in your business. Now, if this is resonating with you at all, if you're starting to think, wow, this could really be an interesting way to approach building a 6 or 7 figure business, and freelance copywriting is part of that, or I am freelance copywriting for clients, they're building these businesses, and I am too, because when you get to the higher fees in your freelance copywriting, you can make a very, very nice living and without working full time. And so that's another one of the great advantages of it. So what I'm doing tomorrow is a free workshop. It's at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's at 1 p.m. Eastern. I have to think of my time zones. And it's going to be on a private Zoom channel. And you have to apply. It's free, but you do need to apply. There's a really short little application. I just get a little bit of contact information and a couple of things about what your goals are. So just make sure it's a good fit for us to spend this time together. And tomorrow I'm going to be talking about how you can build that successful freelance copywriting business with high ticket clients, even if nobody's ever heard of you, which is how I started. But the best part of all is how you will transcend and transform your life and those lives you serve. That's the other part of this. This isn't just about the dollars. That's a great part of it because we all want to make a nice living for our families and be able to take care of them and take care of our obligations and have a nice life, right? And have the lifestyle, that freedom of lifestyle where you don't have to go to the office, you don't have to commute, you can take care of your babies at home while you're still running your business, whatever it is that you need to be able to do. Or you're approaching retirement, you're thinking, is everything going to be okay with retirement incomes, and I just want to keep my mind agile, whatever your reasons are, that it's not too late to do this either, because living an example of that, I had never done anything online until I started my freelance copywriting career. But this is how you can get there, by combining these essential elements. And I'm going to go much deeper into what I actually call this process, how it works, what kind of momentum is set up, what is the best niche market for you as a freelance copywriter, how do you set those fees, and it's going to be live. And working without a net, I'm going to answer questions at the end. I'm going to take questions that will be put in the chat, and I will answer them on this call. So if that means, however long it takes, that's what I'm going to do, is answer your questions. So, and I'm going to be doing it live. So, it's a little bit of that, wow, the technology, hope it all works. So bear with me if I have any little fumbles, because, hey, I'm just, the non-techie do it. But I really wanted to do this live so that I would love to hear your reactions. I think there's going to be some, oh my gosh, kind of real illuminations and insights that are going to come to those on this call tomorrow. Because you know what I said, I let things come through that need to come through, that need to be said. So even I don't know what all might get said tomorrow. So if you'd like to join me, I'll put the link here for you. It's just a real short little application. And again, free call. I would love to see you there tomorrow. If that's of interest to you and you'd like to learn more about this, I hope you'll join me. In the meantime, have a bold day, a brave day, and a blessed day. Stay well, stay safe, and I hope I'm going to see you tomorrow on the call. Until then, and I'll come back and answer any questions you may have. I have another appointment, so I got to go, but I will be back to speak with you in the comments. Take care.